As my health began to falter, an unsettling distance crept between my wife and me, revealing a betrayal that cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. Over the course of 2 years, I meticulously unraveled the fabric of her existence, and on that fateful Christmas morning, I laid bare the depths of my actions, shattering her world in an instant. When my wife confided in me that she had transformed, I embraced her words wholeheartedly until I was met with a chilling blend of innocence and detachment. She was the one who captured my heart during those unforgettable college days. Our journey together began in 2001, when we were both just 19, exploring the depths of young love. At 41, our journey together has been a beautiful, unbroken thread woven through the years. Our first encounter was unforgettable. I found her mischievously adhering gum to a chair, a playful act before anyone could claim it. Curiosity piqued, I approached her, inquiring about her audacious antics. As she gazed up at me, a deep crimson hue spread across her cheeks, igniting an undeniable spark between us. I was taken aback. She was the most enchanting woman I had ever laid eyes on. With a nervous breath, she hesitated, her words faltering as she gently halted his approach, offering an unexpected apology that lingered in the air between them. I took the plunge and asked her out, and to my delight, everything unfolded beautifully. It was such a connection that by the second date, she found herself returning to my place. As I glanced over to the shelf, the absence of my $100 note struck me, alongside the disappearance of 2 exquisite glasses from the kitchen. Yet, I remained composed, unruffled by the unsettling turn of events. I swiftly reached out to her, inquiring about the whereabouts of my belongings, and to my surprise, she succumbed to tears. I ended the call and felt an irresistible pull as I made my way to her doorstep. As she opened the door, her vulnerability washed over her, and tears began to flow once more. I inquired about her troubles, and she started to refer to herself as a monster. I attempted to soothe her worries, but she interrupted me, declaring her certainty. She then revealed the shadows of her past, sharing how, in the halls of high school, she once wielded her words like daggers against those she deemed different. There was a particular boy, unique in his own way, who seemed to capture her attention in a way that felt both tender and forbidden. Now that she had stepped into the world of college, she felt an irresistible urge to embrace a fresh start, to explore the uncharted territories of her desires. And in her words, old habits die hard, and she was struggling a lot. My heart sank. I found myself in a similar predicament, though I was the one suffering, not the one inflicting pain. In a strangely beautiful way, listening to the bully I was falling for express her remorse felt oddly cathartic. It stirred a secret smile within me. As I wrapped my arms around her, time seemed to stand still, creating a cherished connection that felt both intimate and forbidden. Since that moment, I've let go of grievances that would leave most men reeling, all because she whispered sweet promises of transformation into my ear. It was only after the arrival of our first daughters, now blossoming at 12 and 16, that the hidden truths began to unravel before me. As we lounged on the couch of our modest 4-bedroom home, the quiet of the afternoon enveloping us while our daughters were at school, she received the message that would shift the air between us. It came from her former high school confidant, a connection steeped in nostalgia and unspoken desires. My wife's complexion drained of color, and tears streamed down her cheeks with a fervor that took my breath away. Yet, as I delved into the messages, I struggled to find the right words to soothe her troubled heart. It appears that the woman she once tormented, who lived with autism, has tragically chosen to end her own life. I remained frozen in disbelief, my heart heavy with unspoken words. Instead of reassuring my wife that she bore no blame, I found myself lost in the shadows of the past, where time had blurred the lines of what might have been. I found myself gazing at her in silence, the weight of the revelation hanging in the air. Her closest companion had uncovered that my wife's name was unmistakably inscribed in that note. In truth, it resembled more of a contemplative essay. She departed with an almost 1,000-word account, intricately weaving every dark and vivid detail of what my wife had inflicted upon her. My wife once had a penchant for mischief, leaving traces of her playful rebellion in the most unexpected ways: gum tangled in her hair, clothes altered with a snip here and there, and a trail of chaos that seemed to follow her. She even went so far as to enlist others in her schemes, turning the life of that girl into a twisted game of torment. In the closing lines, there was a heartfelt apology directed towards her family, intertwined with a detailed account of the various treatments she had bravely embraced. Countless sums were invested in therapy, counseling, and, at one moment, even rehab. And the most painful realization was that throughout it all, I remained blissfully unaware, as my wife cloaked her true feelings in a guise of indifference, leading me to believe that her bullying was merely a matter of neglecting friendship. She kept her true nature hidden, a seductive secret lurking beneath her enchanting facade. Confusion enveloped my mind, leaving me in a state of uncertainty. Even though the desire to embrace my wife was overwhelming, I found myself unable to do so, as I was grappling with a recent injury to my lower back. She attempted to guide my arm around her, seeking the warmth of my embrace, yet I could only grimace, the ache within me holding me captive. There was an undeniable allure in the secrecy she held, a hidden fragment of the sewer's note that she chose to keep from me. It stirred a curiosity that felt both thrilling and forbidden. Yet in those days I held the conviction that everyone was entitled to their own secrets, even as I grappled with the deepening pain of my injury and the shocking revelation that my wife was entangled in something far darker than I could have ever imagined. Life felt shrouded in shadows, a canvas painted with shades of despair. As my injury deepened, an undeniable dependence on her blossomed, intertwining our lives in ways I never anticipated. She became my driver and my helper with the simplest of tasks, like tying my shoelaces, drawing us closer in an intimate dance of vulnerability. Yet all I yearned for was a moment of distance from her presence. And after some time I understood, but not in the manner I had longed for. Could you perhaps make an effort to tidy up after yourself? As she gathered my medication bottles from the bedside table, a flicker of irritation danced in her eyes, a tension lingering in the air between us. I apologize, I would respond, feeling a deep sense of vulnerability wash over me. The doctor advised against any bending over. She would let out a deep, longing sigh. Then, unexpectedly, my wife, Claire, began spending more time with her coworkers after hours. From November 2019 to February 2020, it became a familiar ritual for her. I paid it no mind. For 2 decades, my faith in her loyalty had remained unshaken, a steadfast bond that seemed unbreakable. At the very least, we had our own circle of friends along with those we shared in common. I would spend time with my friends frequently without any complications. All appeared as it should, cloaked in the familiar veil of routine. That was the belief I held, at least. Yet, in the stillness of one restless night, the fragile threads of our union unraveled, leading to an unexpected collapse. After weeks of contemplation about my wife's true identity and the enigmatic note, my curiosity ultimately led me to surrender to the allure of the unknown. As she lay in slumber, I delved into the entirety of the lawsuit slide note, discovering that the section she had withheld from me was far less scandalous than I had imagined. It left me pondering why she chose to keep it concealed from me. In a moment of vulnerability, she remarked on how her allure seemed to attract more suitors than my wife ever did, suggesting that my choice in marriage was nothing short of a scandalous embarrassment. I found myself enveloped in a haze of confusion, untouched by pain yet deeply unsettled. Yet, it seemed my wife held far more weight in her heart than I ever realized, for that very detail became the catalyst for unraveling everything I once cherished. It was in the chill of January that I began to sense Claire's growing distance. The playful intimacy she once offered, those spontaneous embraces and fleeting kisses, vanished without a trace. Her phone seemed to meld with her hand, a familiar companion in her daily life. Yet this time the allure of sharing had taken on a different hue, as she found herself drawn to whispers of secrets and hidden gems that stirred something deeper within her. Now she was safeguarding her phone, a secret treasure she held close to her heart. Even her tone took on a sharper edge, as if I were a bothersome distraction in her world. One evening I entered the kitchen to find her absorbed in her phone, and I inquired, "Who are you chatting with?" She startled, instinctively pressing the device against her heart. You took my breath away, my heart racing in a delightful panic. Nothing, merely matters of work. As the clock struck 10, I inquired softly, my fingers brushing against the cool glass of water. You're familiar with the excitement that surrounds a fresh product unveiling. With a swift motion, she secured her screen, diverting the conversation to safer shores. Have you remembered to take your medication, my dear? These fleeting moments began to accumulate, each one charged with an unspoken intensity. Whenever her phone buzzed with notifications, she would gently turn it face down, as if hiding a secret from the world. She began to take her calls in a secluded room, away from prying eyes. Once, I stumbled upon her as she ended a call, her cheeks flushed with a hint of surprise. Who might that be? I inquired with a nonchalant air. Only the office, she responded with a hint of urgency. The budget meeting has been postponed. She rushed by me, her urgency palpable as she made her way to the bathroom, leaving a lingering tension in the air. It was more than merely a phone call. She began to invest more time in her allure, each detail carefully curated to captivate and entice. Fresh attire, a transformed hairstyle, and an alluring hint of makeup for the office. One morning, I caught a whiff of a perfume she wore, its scent unfamiliar yet intoxicating, stirring something deep within me. "How intriguing," I remarked. "Oh, just a little something from the department store," she replied with a hint of nonchalance, her eyes glinting with a secret allure. I thought it might be time for a change. By March, the world shifted, and our city found itself cloaked in an unexpected stillness. Our roles were deemed indispensable, compelling us to continue our daily routines, even amidst the chaos. After 4 long months of rehabilitation, I've finally been given the green light to return, and I can hardly contain my excitement. The stillness of inactivity had begun to gnaw at my spirit, a restless yearning for the thrill of movement and the pulse of life. I engage in the thrill of soccer 3 times a week and embrace the intensity of the gym, all while passionately overseeing our home renovation endeavors. Stepping back into the world of work brought a bittersweet mix of comfort and complexity. Though my back had not yet fully mended, the act of embracing productivity once more breathed life into my spirit. The CO protocols transformed everything in ways we never anticipated. Veils of secrecy, the space between us, an unending ritual of cleansing. Yet, it was a welcome escape from the confines of my home, where the chasm between my wife and me seemed to widen with each passing day. Just a week into the lockdown, Claire revealed her desire to take on additional hours, a decision that stirred a mix of intrigue and longing in the air. Once more, I chose not to delve into it, considering the nature of her profession. I had thought it would be a fleeting encounter, perhaps every other day, but instead, it unfolded into a daily ritual, stretching far beyond mere hours. She returned home, the clock having ticked past 3 hours since her expected arrival. A quick shower was her first act, a fleeting moment of connection shared with me and our 12-year-old before she slipped away into the night, leaving the echoes of her absence lingering in the air. Our 16-year-old had chosen to nestle into the comfort of her boyfriend's world across town, a choice that felt both familiar and distant. And then, silence enveloped the house as she surrendered to the embrace of sleep. "Another late night?" I inquired, my curiosity piqued after nearly 2 weeks of this familiar rhythm. "The pandemic has doubled our workload," she murmured, her fingers deftly unfastening the fabric that clung to her, revealing the allure beneath. "Everyone's scrambling for medical supplies and we're constantly on conference calls with hospitals." It made sense on paper. Her company was involved in distributing medical equipment, but something felt off about her explanation. One night, our youngest daughter Mia asked, "Mom, why do you always have to shower as soon as you get home? Can't we play Uno first?" Claire looked uncomfortable. "It's the virus, honey. I need to be extra careful not to bring anything home. I promise we'll play tomorrow," but tomorrow never seemed to come. Claire's interactions with our daughters became increasingly perfunctory. Quick hugs, automated questions about school, which was now online, then retreat to the bedroom with her phone. As my back improved, we started being intimate again, but she was clearly mentally checked out, which I noticed immediately. By early April, the picture was becoming clearer. All signs pointed to her having an affair. That's when I decided to investigate. Our first time being intimate after my recovery was awkward and mechanical. She went through the motions but seemed distant, like her mind was elsewhere. When I tried to kiss her deeply, she turned her face slightly. When I suggested a position we'd always enjoyed, she claimed she was too tired. Afterward, she rolled away immediately and checked her phone. "Everything okay?" I asked, feeling hurt and confused. "Fine," she replied without looking at me. "Just checking my work email." At 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday, I researched signs of infidelity online, and she was checking almost every box. Next, I searched for how to find proof. I started with her social media. Scrolling through her Facebook, I found the usual family pics, friends, and several photos from nights out with coworkers. In these pictures, I noticed one guy consistently appearing too close to her, arm around her shoulder or hand on her lower back, way too familiar for someone I'd never met. The guy stood out immediately, tall, probably 6 feet 2 inches in, with dark hair styled in that modern undercut that younger guys wear, athletic build, wearing expensive-looking clothes. In every picture, he was positioned next to Claire, sometimes whispering in her ear, sometimes with his hand casually resting on her hip. The body language between them was undeniable. The slight lean toward each other, the playful smiles, the comfortable physical contact. I clicked on his profile tag, Ryan. His profile picture showed him rock climbing, shirtless, of course. According to his info, he was 26 years old and had been with Claire's company for just under 2 years as a sales representative. He was the embodiment of the cocky young sales guy stereotype. The BMW profile banner photo, the designer sunglasses, the carefully curated adventure lifestyle posts. But here's what really set off alarms. This guy was friends with her on Facebook and followed her on Instagram. But when I tried to view his profile, blocked. Why would I be blocked from seeing this guy's account when he's friends with my wife? That's when detective mode kicked in. I was no longer trying to disprove my suspicions. I knew she was cheating with this guy. My mission became finding out for how long. The night I discovered I was blocked from viewing his profile was surreal. I remember sitting in my home office. The blue light from the screen illuminating the darkness. My hands shaking as I tried to process what this meant. I tried convincing myself there might be an innocent explanation, but deep down I knew better. Maybe he blocks all his coworkers' spouses for privacy, I said out loud to the empty room. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew how ridiculous they sounded. Throughout April and May I dug deeper. I had no idea how much information you could get from phone and text records until then. Our family phone plan provided access to quite a bit of data. Claire's contact history showed the two numbers she interacted with most from October 2019 to April 2020 were mine and another I didn't recognize. One quick Google search confirmed it belonged to the guy from the photos who blocked me on Facebook. Let's call him Ryan because that's what he is. The call logs were damning. While I was lying in bed recovering from surgery, struggling with pain and depression, Claire was spending hours on the phone with this guy. There were calls at odd times. Early mornings before she left for work, late nights after she thought I was asleep, even during her lunch breaks. Some calls lasted only a minute or two, quick check-ins, while others went on for over an hour. The text logs were even worse. Hundreds of messages every day, starting as early as 5 a.m. and often continuing until after midnight. The volume increased dramatically during my recovery period, which explained why she seemed so distracted and irritable around me. She wasn't just dealing with the burden of my care. She was actively engaged in an emotional affair at minimum. The picture became clearer, but many of their messages were disjointed, suggesting she was deleting texts. I knew she was cheating but needed something concrete. That's when I told my best friend Dave what I'd found. He asked if I'd confronted her and I said no because I felt I needed more evidence. Dave told me about an app that could monitor her communications in real time. I installed it, synced with our data plan, and waited. Dave and I met at his place to talk about it. I needed to confide in someone before I completely lost my mind. I think Claire's having an affair, I said, the words feeling strange coming out of my mouth. Dave's expression changed from curiosity to concern. What makes you think that? I showed him the Facebook photos, the call logs, everything I'd gathered so far. He studied it all carefully. His brow furrowed. This doesn't look good, man, he finally said. But you need to be absolutely sure before you confront her. We've shared 2 decades, I said, my fingers tangling in my hair, a mix of frustration and longing in my voice. That's precisely why I crave something undeniable, something she can't dismiss or rationalize. Dave paused, a flicker of understanding crossing his face, before retrieving his phone. There's an app my brother turned to when he had his doubts about his wife. It's not exactly ethical, but it'll give you the truth. He showed me how to install it, how to sync it with our account, how to hide it so Claire wouldn't know it was there. I felt sick doing it, invading her privacy like this, but I needed to know. Within days I saw it. A text conversation between them discussing how much fun they'd had the previous night and making plans for the weekend. Gut punch. I was completely devastated. This was my D-Day. And for the next 2 days I was simply broken. I distanced myself from her, which visibly unsettled her. She tried asking what was wrong, but I brushed her off and left the room. I couldn't even look at her. This woman I'd given 20 years to, who I'd provided everything for, had stepped outside our marriage for a guy barely older than our eldest daughter. The texts were explicit enough to remove any doubt. Ryan, last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about how you felt. Claire, I know. Me too. When can I see you again? Ryan, is he working late Friday? Claire? Yes. Said he'll be at the warehouse until 8 o'clock. Come over at 6. Ryan. Perfect. Wear that black thing I like. Claire, anything for you? I stared at my phone screen, reading and rereading their exchange, feeling physically ill. 20 years of marriage, 2 children, countless memories, all of it seemingly meaningless to her. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd drift off for an hour, then jolt awake, my mind replaying their messages on an endless loop. When Claire tried talking to me, I could barely respond. The sound of her voice, once comforting, now made my skin crawl. How could she act so normal? How could she meet my gaze after everything that had transpired between us? "Is everything all right with you?" she inquired one evening, her fingers brushing against my forehead. "You seem different," I recoiled from her caress. "I'm fine, just weary," I replied, but her gaze sharpened with a hint of worry. Or perhaps it was something deeper. "You haven't been yourself lately. Is your back troubling you once more?" "No," I replied, my voice devoid of warmth. "Just leave me be, please." By the third day, the weight of sorrow morphed into a simmering anger. I reached out to Dave to validate my growing doubts, and he inquired if I had yet confronted her. I responded, "No, I wasn't merely seeking a divorce. I yearned to unravel her completely. I yearned to unravel the delicate threads of her existence. Though the journey ahead would be slow, I had a vision in mind." "You must hear me out," Dave urged, his voice low and urgent over the phone. "I know this may seem insane, but hold off on confronting her for now." "Why on earth should I wait?" I insisted. "I possess evidence of her infidelity with this man, and if you approach her at this moment, she'll twist the story to her advantage," Dave revealed. "She'll downplay it, manipulate your perception, and offer justifications. You must approach this with intention." "With intention? In what way?" "I desire her to leave my home by nightfall." "Think long-term," Dave advised. "You have a lot to lose here. The house, time with your kids, your finances. If you play this right, you can protect yourself and make sure she doesn't get away with this." I took a deep breath, trying to calm the rage coursing through me. "What do you suggest?" "Document everything. Build your case. Talk to a lawyer before you tip your hand and make her sweat a little." During my research on infidelity, I came across a phrase that stuck with me. "The enemy of infidelity is unpredictability." That became the foundation of my plan. I would make her life hell while secretly planning my exit. The strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Change my behavior just enough to make her uncomfortable, make her question what I knew, make her worry about her secure little arrangement. Meanwhile, I'd gather evidence, prepare financially, and set up my escape. I wouldn't confront her until I was ready to completely destroy her world. By early June, I continued gathering data through the app. They were communicating like they were in a full relationship. Romantic messages, texting, explicit photos, everything. I stopped reading the content and just collected information, cataloging it all on my private server. Meanwhile, I started behaving out of character. I began going out at odd hours and coming home even later than she did. When in her presence, I'd be glued to my phone. And if she asked what I was doing, I'd simply say, "Just stuff," and put it away. The first time I implemented this new behavior, Claire looked genuinely confused. I'd been home consistently at 5:30 p.m. for years. But suddenly I texted, "Don't wait dinner." Staying late at the office, lost in thoughts of what could be. I found myself lost in a moment that felt far removed from the demands of the day. I found myself nestled in a cozy coffee shop just 3 blocks from the office, contemplating my next steps. When I finally returned home around 9 p.m., Claire was there, her presence filling the living room with an unspoken tension. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice laced with curiosity and something deeper. She inquired, attempting to maintain a nonchalant demeanor, yet her effort fell short. I merely shrugged. Work had taken a complicated turn. "You could have called," she remarked, her tone laced with an edge of accusation. I glanced up from my phone. I texted, "Isn't that the norm now?" Her cheeks flushed ever so slightly, the irony of her own actions not escaping her. I had altered all my passwords, a significant move considering we had always shared everything throughout our marriage. Yet, around the time I sensed her infidelity, she had changed her Facebook and phone passwords, citing security breaches as the reason. "Yeah, right," I thought to myself. "What a clever disguise for concealing your secret rendezvous. What is preventing me from accessing my Netflix account?" She inquired one evening, her voice laced with intrigue. "Shall we alter the password?" I responded, my gaze still fixed on the pages before me. "So what is it?" "Allow me to assist you," I said, gently taking her iPad and entering the information while ensuring she remained unaware. "Why not simply share it with me?" she pressed. I shrugged. "Been changing all my passwords lately. Security concerns." She couldn't argue without being hypocritical. The confusion and frustration on her face was priceless. I told Dave my plan along with my older sister and 2 close friends. These are people I trust with my life, and I swore them to secrecy. Dave and I have been friends since elementary school. My other friends, Jack and Sarah, we've known since college. Remember Sarah? She becomes important later. My sister was hesitant about my approach. "Are you sure you want to play games?" Why not just confront her and be done with it? Because she'll lie, I explained. She'll minimize it. She'll make me sound paranoid. I need her to know that I know everything and I need to be protected legally before that happens. Jack was more supportive. Man, I get it. She betrayed you in the worst way possible. Make her sweat. Sarah's reaction was the most visceral. That she said when I showed her the evidence. After everything you've done for her, she doesn't deserve a quick and easy divorce. She deserves to feel what she's put you through. By July, Claire was in full paranoia mode. She was calling and texting constantly, asking when I'd be home, where I was, what I was doing. The seed of doubt I'd planted was growing, evident in her communications with Ryan. She confided her concerns to him, telling him I was becoming cold and distant. The nerve of this woman. Her text to Ryan became increasingly frantic. Claire, he's acting weird again. Came home at 11 o'clock last night smelling like perfume. Ryan. You think he's seeing someone? Claire, I don't know. He's never done this before. Always been so predictable. Ryan. Maybe he's working late like he says. Claire, for 3 weeks straight and he's showering at night now. He never used to do that. I hadn't actually been with anyone, of course. The perfume was a sample I'd sprayed on my shirt at the mall. The late nights were spent at Dave's or my sister's place. The nighttime showers were just to mess with her head, give her a taste of her own medicine. In one exchange, she suggested they stop meeting at our house because she wasn't sure when I might show up, confirming they'd been in my home. Thanks, Claire. Ryan asked if she was worried I might be cheating on her, which actually angered her. I can't describe the joy I felt reading that exchange. My cheating wife arguing with her affair partner about whether she was upset that her husband might be cheating. The irony was delicious. Claire, I'm not comfortable with you coming to the house anymore. Ryan. What? We've been careful. Claire, he's unpredictable now. Shows up at random times. Ryan. Use my place then. Claire. Your roommates are always there. Ryan. Hotel. Claire. Maybe. I just need to figure out what's going on with him. Ryan. Are you actually upset that he might be cheating on you? Seriously, Claire? You don't understand. This isn't like him. Ryan. But it's okay for you to be with me. Kind of hypocritical, don't you think? Claire, it's different and you know it. Our marriage has been dead for years. That last message felt like a knife to the gut. Dead for years. We'd had our struggles like any couple, but I thought we were solid. We still went on date nights, celebrated anniversaries, planned for the future. Was it all a lie? Had she been checked out longer than I realized? To be clear, I wasn't seeing anyone. When I went out, I was usually at Dave or Jack's place having drinks and watching sports or visiting my sister, 49, and brother-in-law, 55, who's like an older brother to me. I told my sister about Claire's affair, but not my revenge plan. Her husband can't keep secrets. I don't understand why you don't just confront her, my sister said over coffee one afternoon. This whole charade seems exhausting. It is, I admitted. But I need to be prepared. I need to protect myself and the girls. And making her think you're cheating accomplishes that. Oh, I sighed. It's not about making her think I'm cheating. It's about creating unpredictability, taking away her sense of control. Right now, she thinks she's managing everything perfectly. Her affair, her marriage, her image. I'm showing her she doesn't have the control she thinks she does. My sister shook her head. Just be careful. Games like this have a way of getting complicated. Fast forward to October. My fake affair had been going for 3 months, and Claire was hyper-aware I was pulling away. Since implementing my plan, I hadn't touched her. No hugs, kisses, or intimacy. Not that she needed it. She was still sleeping with Ryan just at his place or hotels. The distance between us had become a physical presence in our home, like a third person living with us. We moved around each other carefully, speaking only when necessary, avoiding eye contact. Our youngest daughter noticed, of course. Are you and Mom fighting? Mia asked one Saturday morning while Claire was out running errands. I put down my coffee. What makes you ask that? You don't talk anymore, she said, her eyes downcast, and you're never home at the same time. My heart broke for her. At 12, she was perceptive enough to sense the tension, but too young to understand its cause. Adult relationships get complicated sometimes, sweetheart. But I want you to know that both your mom and I love you very much. That never changes. She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't convinced. I made a mental note to make sure she had extra support when everything finally came to light. On October 20th, Claire called me at work, which hadn't happened in months, asking me to come straight home because she had something important to discuss. I half expected she was going to confess, but of course not. Instead, she asked if I was unhappy with her. The audacity. She mentioned I was spending too much time away, showing no affection, and our intimate life had died. She suggested I was resentful of how she treated me during my recovery. Then came the punchline. She asked if I was cheating on her. I arrived home to find her sitting at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea. She'd clearly put effort into her appearance. Hairstyled, makeup done, wearing the sweater I'd given her last Christmas. "What's so important?" I inquired, my jacket still draped over my shoulders. "Please take a seat," she beckoned, her hand gracefully indicating the chair opposite her. I lingered in place. "I think I'd prefer to avoid that. Please just express what you must." She inhaled deeply, her heart racing. "I sense a growing chasm between us. You seem so far away, so unapproachable. Your absence lingers in our home, and the warmth we once shared has faded into memory," I replied, my silence heavy as I watched her shift uncomfortably beneath my stare. "Is it my actions during your recovery that have driven us apart?" she pressed on, seeking answers in the shadows of our past. "I realize I fell short in offering the support you needed. Work has been overwhelming, but is that truly the heart of this matter?" I interjected, my voice laced with an unspoken tension. "Are you burdened by remorse for your actions during my injury?" "No, it's about our connection," she insisted. "There's an unsettling tension and I yearn to mend it." A soft chuckle escaped me, tinged with irony. Now she yearned to mend the delicate threads of their connection. "Are you involved with someone else?" she finally inquired, her voice a soft murmur, laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability. I found myself sprawled on the floor, laughter bubbling up uncontrollably, a wild, intoxicating sound that echoed with a hint of madness, reminiscent of a playful villain's delight. To her, it may have seemed as though I was dismissing the accusation with laughter, but in truth, I was captivated by the delicious irony of the moment. Emotion overwhelmed me, and I found myself on the floor, lost in my sorrow for what felt like an eternity before I finally gathered the strength to regain my composure. I sat up, our eyes finally meeting after months of silence. I shook my head, words escaping me, then rose to my feet, brushing off the remnants of the past. Leaning down, I pressed a gentle kiss to the crown of her head, a fleeting moment of intimacy, before I turned away to continue my evening. The expression on her face was utterly captivating. A blend of uncertainty, solace, and an undercurrent of doubt. Her gaze lingered, uncertainty dancing in her eyes as she tried to decipher the emotions swirling within me. Was I laughing out of disbelief at the absurdity of it all, or was it the thrill of being discovered that stirred my amusement? The uncertainty was precisely the thrill I craved. Later that night in my office I found myself thinking, why not? And decided to check the app to uncover what she was whispering to him. They exchanged messages in the heat of the moment. I'm aware of his betrayal. Tonight, I mustered the courage to ask him, only to be met with a laugh that felt like a dagger to my heart. He collapsed onto the floor, laughter spilling from him for what felt like an eternity, lost in the moment's delight. He seems indifferent to my emotions now, as if they no longer hold any weight in his world. Inexplicably, he has slipped away, leaving behind a void that lingers in the air. I can feel the distance between us growing, a bittersweet ache settling in my heart. This is the dance of fate. The smile gracing my lips was undoubtedly vast, a reflection of the secret joy blooming within me. She was unraveling. The Ryan's reply arrived with surprising swiftness. Your reaction seems a bit excessive. He likely chuckled, finding the notion utterly absurd. Claire, you never laid eyes on him. It was as if he reveled in the absurdity of it all, a mischievous glint in his eye that suggested a deeper, more tantalizing understanding of the situation. As if I were nothing more than a punchline in his eyes. Rogue. Perhaps he is navigating through his own complexities. It doesn't necessarily imply infidelity. Claire, he returns in the twilight hours, the lingering scent of perfume clinging to him like a secret whisper. He guards his phone like a hidden treasure, shrouded in mystery. He transformed every one of his passwords. His gaze barely lingers on me these days. The audacity of him, attempting to soothe her with words that cut deeper than any knife. He claimed that if my feelings ran deep enough, she would never have sought solace in his arms. Yet, the way she replied hinted at an inner turmoil, a flicker of uncertainty dancing behind her words. She dared to betray me, taking advantage of my vulnerability during a time when I was unable to meet her needs due to a genuine injury. After nearly a year of our secret rendezvous, the thought of me slipping away to another woman made her hesitate, stirring a tempest of emotions within her. Despicable fool. Understand this. If he truly valued your union, you and I would never have crossed paths in this way. You acknowledged that he has been emotionally distant for quite some time now. Claire, I understand, yet I find myself questioning whether that was merely my perception or if it truly was reality. He had always been my steadfast support, a constant presence in my life, until that fateful moment changed everything. Forever the charming rogue, endlessly devoted yet delightfully infuriating. What of it? So now you find yourself standing up for him, despite all those moments you lamented the monotony of your marriage? Claire, I can't say I'm on his side. I'm feeling quite perplexed. A shift has occurred. Amidst it all, I was carefully orchestrating the next phase of my scheme, tending to the delicate balance of my finances. In September, I found myself in the office of a divorce attorney, armed with a trove of evidence I had meticulously gathered. Living in a fault divorce state, I realized I held the power to turn the tides in court, a thrilling prospect that danced on the edge of consequence. My attorney suggested that I meticulously arrange my finances, anticipating the delicate dance of asset division that lies ahead. I took a bold step, discreetly transferring my funds from our shared account to a personal one, and embarked on a quest for a new apartment, setting the stage for what was to come next. My attorney, a keen-eyed woman in her 50s who had navigated the complexities of life, examined my evidence with a calm professionalism that wrapped around me like a warm embrace. "This is remarkably thorough," she said, her fingers gliding over the pages of the binder with a hint of intrigue. I had meticulously gathered messages, call histories, and traces of where I had been. "Your attention to detail is impressive." I felt the weight of my words as I sought clarity, revealing the depths of my uncertainty. "And now, I yearn for freedom, a desire to shield what belongs to me," she nodded in understanding. "In this realm, infidelity serves as a basis for a fault divorce, which may ultimately benefit you. Yet, the courts are gradually embracing a more balanced approach to distribution, setting aside notions of blame. What implications does that hold for my journey? It suggests that while you may still need to share your assets fairly, her betrayal could influence the support you provide her. One might contend that her clandestine liaison could be deemed a breach of marital fidelity, possibly diminishing or nullifying any claims for alimony." We devoted the next hour to weaving a strategy, our minds entwined in a dance of ideas and whispered possibilities. Which connections to sever, what treasures to safeguard, and how to meticulously catalog the cherished possessions that hold significance. She suggested that I begin the delicate process of moving funds to a personal account, recommending a slow and careful approach to keep any prying eyes at bay. "What about the house?" I inquired. "It was our most significant treasure, the one that stirred my deepest worries." "It's a tangled web," she confessed. "If you wish to hold on to it, you may find yourself needing to acquire her portion. Perhaps you might consider selling and sharing the rewards that follow. We should arrange for an appraisal, don't you think?" I departed her office, my mind swirling with a tantalizing plan of action, each detail igniting a spark of anticipation. On that fateful day, I took a bold step and opened a new bank account at another institution, carefully orchestrating the transfer of my funds with a sense of thrilling secrecy. Not everything all at once, but just enough to ensure my future is beautifully entwined with desire. I began with my own savings, then gradually drew from the shared account, taking only what reflected my contributions. As November approached, my ways remained unchanged. I found myself deepening it. It is at this moment that Sarah enters the scene. To set the scene, Sarah and Claire have always maintained a certain distance between them. It was during my freshman year of college that I first crossed paths with Sarah, 2 years before fate introduced me to Claire. Claire has always regarded Sarah as a rival, sensing the bond we share as something that stirs a hint of jealousy within her. There has always lingered a subtle tension, an unspoken doubt that Claire chose to leave unexamined. On the other hand, Sarah had always harbored a disdain for Claire, highlighting from the very beginning of our romance how Claire seemed to intrude upon our circle of friends, while I had never sought to do the same with hers. In Claire's circle, the only presence of men is that of Orion, while Sarah stands as the sole woman in my world. Sarah and I share a past that stretches back before Claire entered the picture, yet it never ventured into the realm of romance. Our paths crossed in that dreary introduction to economics class, where we found solace in our shared disdain for the subject, igniting a connection that felt both thrilling and forbidden. She possesses an intellect that captivates, a voice that commands attention, and a loyalty that runs deep, igniting a passion that is both exhilarating and forbidden. The qualities that rendered her an extraordinary companion also cast a shadow of intimidation over certain individuals, Claire included. The tension that lingered between them was both delicate and unyielding. At those intimate gatherings, Claire would deliberately place herself between Sarah and me, creating an undeniable tension in the air. She would often interject into our discussions, seeking any excuse to draw me away from the moment we shared. Sarah observed, her silence heavy with unspoken thoughts. At least not to Claire in a straightforward manner. After the party, Sarah remarked, "Your wife doesn't seem to have much fondness for me. She simply cares deeply," I clarified. Sarah arched an eyebrow, a hint of intrigue dancing in her gaze. "What do you mean? Your independence?" I had brushed it aside at the time, yet Sarah's insight held an undeniable truth. Claire had always harbored a quiet intensity, particularly when it came to my female friends. The irony now was utterly captivating. After a long and arduous journey away, Sarah finally found her way back home on November 3rd, the world having shifted in her absence, leaving her with a sense of longing and anticipation for what awaited her. In the soft glow of candlelight, Dave, Jack and I gathered at Jack's place, indulging in a sumptuous dinner and flowing drinks to honor her long-awaited return. It's just the three of us, Jack's wife who happens to be Sarah's sister and Sarah herself, all while adhering to the guidelines naturally. Sarah, though weary from her travels, radiated a vibrant energy as she captivated us with tales of her unexpected entrapment in Barcelona during the lockdowns, weaving a narrative that danced between adventure and longing. "I imagined my stay would last just 2 weeks," she chuckled softly, a glimmer of mischief in her eyes. "After 8 long months I have finally returned to the place that holds my heart." I shared with her the intricate details of my encounters with Claire, revealing the evidence I had meticulously collected. Her reaction was raw, a blend of cunning and ingratitude that stirred something deep within. She let the words linger in the air, shaking her head with a mix of disdain and unspoken longing. "After all the sacrifices you made for her during your recovery, who could possibly act that way? Someone who seeks the thrill of new experiences rather than the bonds of lasting devotion," Dave proposed. Sarah's gaze sharpened with a contemplative intensity. "And now you're leading her to believe that you're entangled in a secret affair as well." "Not quite," I elaborated. Teasingly unpredictable, stirring a delightful unease within her. Sarah, with her wicked brilliance, proposed we capture images reminiscent of those I'd stumbled upon of Claire and Ryan, depicting us in a way that felt intimately close, and share them on Facebook. And that is precisely what we chose to embrace. On the 5th, Claire stumbled upon the images as our mutual friends began to take note of the intimate moments shared between Sarah and me. This played with her emotions as she clung to the belief that I was unfaithful, even though Sarah had spent the majority of the year far away. The images were artfully arranged to reflect those I had discovered of Claire and the other man. Sarah leaned in, her breath warm against my ear, while my hand lingered just above her waist, a subtle connection that felt both thrilling and forbidden. We shared a laugh, our bodies drawn together, enveloped in an intimacy that felt both natural and thrillingly forbidden. Subtly provocative, leaving just enough to the imagination to stir curiosity. I shared them with playful yet alluring captions. "It's a delight to have this one return. Rekindling connections with old friends brings a warmth that nourishes the spirit." That evening, Claire sought me out, her eyes glinting with a mix of curiosity and challenge, to address my touchy behavior in the photographs. I recognized this moment as the ideal chance to unveil my carefully crafted revelation. "What about those photos of you and that insufferable man from last year?" His touch was undeniably bold, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. Yet, did I allow myself to feel the sting of disappointment? In that moment, caught in a gaze that felt electric, I uttered his name for the very first time. She hurried to weave a story around those photographs, her heart racing with the weight of unspoken secrets. "He carries that charm with everyone he encounters. Though the appearance may suggest otherwise, I assure you, there is nothing beneath the surface. If they bring you pain, I will erase them from existence." Her complexion paled at the mere utterance of his name, a shadow of something unspoken flickering in her eyes. She was blissfully unaware that I was privy to his identity, much less that I had been observing their every encounter with keen interest. "Ryan," she breathed, her voice trembling with a mix of longing and hesitation. "From the office, perhaps? He's merely a colleague, yet there's an undeniable spark that lingers in the air between us. A colleague who feels at ease to let his hands roam freely over you in photographs," I responded with a serene composure. "A colleague whose online presence remains a tantalizing mystery to me, shrouded in an alluring veil of secrecy." She made an effort to regain her composure swiftly. "He carries that charm with everyone he encounters. It holds no significance, and I was completely unaware that you had been cut off. Perhaps it's a matter of discretion. I could persuade him to lift the block on you." "Don't bother," I murmured, casting my gaze aside, a hint of longing in my voice. I was merely highlighting the intriguing complexities of the double standard at play. It seems you can share intimate moments with your colleague, yet I find myself unable to reconnect with a dear old friend. It feels different, she murmured softly, a hint of longing in her voice. Is it not? I dared to meet her gaze, a spark of intensity igniting between us. What is it that sets it apart, Claire? She remained silent, her thoughts swirling in a haze of unspoken desires. For perhaps the first time in our union, she found herself utterly at a loss for words. No, it wasn't the pictures that caused me pain. The years spent entwined with him under the guise of late nights was the true wound, yet as the whispers of fate suggest, vengeance is a delicacy best savored in silence. From that night onward, Claire enveloped herself in a tender devotion, her attentiveness bordering on overwhelming, yet undeniably captivating. She reached out, yearning for closeness and tenderness, yet I remained an impenetrable fortress, unyielding to her advances. In the shadows, I found myself meticulously preserving the whispers exchanged between her and the one she called Ryan. At this juncture, I found myself enveloped in a shroud of emotional detachment. All hope of salvaging my marriage faded the moment I set my plan into motion. Claire's demeanor transformed in a captivating and unexpected way. She began to return home immediately after her workday, a subtle shift that hinted at something deeper brewing beneath the surface. She prepared sumptuous feasts, each dish a tantalizing invitation to indulge in the pleasures of the evening. She proposed intimate evenings filled with cinematic tales, just us, wrapped in the warmth of shared secrets. She surprised me with gifts that spoke to my soul, a novel by my cherished author, a sleek new watch that whispered elegance, and tickets to a virtual concert I had longed to experience. One evening, she leaned closer, her fingers gently tracing the contours of my thigh as we sat together on the couch, a spark of unspoken desire hanging in the air. I gently guided her hand aside. I'm just not feeling it right now. You haven't felt it in months, she replied, attempting to keep her tone light, yet the underlying tension was unmistakable. It seems we share that connection, I responded, rising to make my way to my office. Wait, she called after me, her voice laced with longing. Can we talk about what's unfolding between us? I miss you. I hesitated in the doorway, caught in the gravity of her words. There's nothing left to discuss. I'm simply exhausted, that's all. The pain reflected in her gaze may have once stirred something within me, but now, I felt an unsettling emptiness. The woman I once adored had vanished, leaving in her place a stranger, one who wielded betrayal, deceit, and hypocrisy with unsettling ease. She confided in him that my condition had deteriorated, expressing her uncertainty and the haunting feeling that I harbored resentment towards her. I certainly did. Then arrived the revelation that would change everything. She whispered that their paths could no longer intertwine. The weight of her guilt pressed heavily upon her, a relentless reminder of the choices she had made, leaving her breathless in its embrace. She knew the stakes were too high to let me slip away. She confessed her profound love for him, yet her heart still belonged to me, as she felt the weight of her vows and the need to preserve her marriage. That ship has sailed, and it's been adrift for nearly 8 months now. Their exchange was intense. Claire, I find myself at a crossroads and I can no longer continue down this path. I must devote my attention to nurturing my marriage. Scoundrel. What is the source of this unexpected feeling? Yesterday you spoke of spending the weekend at my place, a thought that lingers sweetly in the air. Claire, I understand and I regret it, but circumstances have shifted. He possesses a secret, a hidden knowledge that lingers in the air between them. He spoke your name, how infuriating. What of it? He lacks any tangible evidence to support his claims. Claire, it holds no significance. His presence is fading and the thought of losing him sends a shiver through my soul. He is my husband, the father of my children, yet he can be such a fool. And what do you see me as? Just a man you've shared a year with, entwined in a delicate dance of emotions. Claire, I implore you, don't complicate this any further than it already is. My feelings for you run deep. I truly do. My heart is drawn to you, yet it still holds a lingering affection for him. You're such a scoundrel and deep down you know it all too well. If your heart truly belonged to him, you wouldn't have found solace in my embrace just last week. Claire, I've crossed a line, one that weighs heavily on my heart. Yet, my family must take precedence at this moment. The fool completely unraveled. Words lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken desires. He doesn't love you like I do, and you're making a mistake throwing me away. Those final messages echoed with desperation, a plea wrapped in frustration. You're discarding something real for a marriage that lost its spark long before I entered the picture. The bitterness hung thick. He doesn't appreciate you. He doesn't see you as I do. Each word dripped with longing and regret. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. I love you more than he ever could. A resigned sigh followed. Fine. Have it your way. But when he leaves you, don't come crawling back. As November and December unfolded, Claire found herself in a delicate dance of uncertainty, caught between her heart's whispers and the shadows of doubt that loomed over her choices. In the shadows of her silence, Ryan relentlessly inundated her phone with messages, each one a desperate plea for her attention, yet she remained unyielding, lost in her own thoughts. She would glance at her phone often, a fleeting moment of anticipation, before hastily tucking it away, as if hiding a secret longing. His messages flowed like a tempest, each one a blend of remorse, fury, and desperate longing. She would glance at the messages, her expression a delicate blend of desire and remorse, yet she never responded, at least not in my presence. Her attempts to rekindle our connection grew more fervent, tinged with an urgency that hinted at unspoken desires. She proposed the idea of counseling, yet I found myself unable to accept. She envisioned a weekend escape, a tantalizing prospect that I regrettably had to decline, unable to steal away from my obligations. She even attempted to bring back the magic of our first date. A familiar restaurant, a clandestine takeout due to circumstances, the same film flickering on the screen, and the same exquisite wine to savor. Do you recall the magic of our inaugural Valentine's Day together? She inquired one evening, revealing a photo album she had unearthed from the depths of storage. You gifted me that silver bracelet I still cherish. I cast a fleeting look at the album, my heart untouched by its allure. Feels like ages have passed since then. 20 years isn't that long, she said softly. Not when you love someone. I didn't respond, just excused myself to make a phone call. Her words meant nothing to me now. Every sweet memory was tainted by her betrayal. Phase 2 was complete. Divorce papers ready, studio apartment secured with a 2-year lease, and all my money in my personal account. I was ready for the knockout punch. My new apartment was modest but comfortable. A 1-bedroom in a secure building across town. I'd furnished it minimally with just the essentials. A bed, a couch, a desk for work, and basic kitchen supplies. It didn't feel like home, but it wasn't meant to. It was a transition space, somewhere to land while I rebuilt my life. The divorce papers were comprehensive, citing adultery as grounds and including a sampling of the evidence I'd gathered. My lawyer had prepared everything meticulously, ensuring I was protected financially and that Claire's infidelity was clearly documented. Once you serve these, my attorney warned, there's no going back. Are you absolutely certain this is what you want? More certain than I've been about anything in years, I assured her. Thanksgiving arrived and my oldest daughter and her boyfriend hosted a small gathering. Them, the boyfriend's parents, myself, Claire, and our youngest. To maintain appearances, I initiated affection with Claire several times that evening. Kisses on the cheek, hugs, and arms around her shoulders. She clearly loved it, which was ironic considering this was the first time I'd touched her since that head kiss in October. Honestly, it disgusted me, but I couldn't risk raising suspicions in front of family. Our oldest daughter's apartment was small but festive. She decorated with fall colors and candles, and her boyfriend had helped prepare a traditional Thanksgiving meal. The normality of the scene was surreal. Everyone was chatting, laughing, and sharing stories while I carried the weight of what was to come. Claire glowed under my attention, misinterpreting it as reconciliation. Each time I put my arm around her or kissed her cheek, she leaned into it, her eyes hopeful. She kept touching my hand, seeking reassurance that wasn't there. You two seem better. My oldest daughter commented when Claire was helping her boyfriend's mother in the kitchen. Do we? I asked non-committally. Yeah, Mom's been worried about you guys. Said, you've been distant. I forced a smile. Things are progressing. She seemed satisfied with that answer, though I hadn't actually confirmed anything. I hated lying to my daughter, even by omission, but she'd know the truth soon enough. Our youngest decided to stay with her sister that night, so Claire and I went home alone. On the drive, she thanked me for being good to her, saying, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here for you. I nearly burst out laughing again but composed myself to reply. I know. I just need time. The drive was quiet, with Claire occasionally reaching over to squeeze my hand. I allowed it, knowing this would be the last time I'd tolerate her touch. Thank you for tonight, she said as we pulled into our driveway. It felt like us again. I responded, neither confirming nor denying. Inside, she poured us both a glass of wine and sat close to me on the couch. "I've missed you," she whispered, her hand on my knee. I took a sip of wine, considering my options. Part of me wanted to end things right then, serve her the papers, reveal everything I knew, and watch her world collapse. But another part, the part that had waited patiently for months, wanted one final act of closure. For the first time since spring, we were intimate that night. I figured, what the hell? With what I was about to do, I might as well get one last round in before erasing her from my life. It wasn't making love. When I finished, she was just lying there like she'd been hit by a truck. No cuddling after. I just showered and slept in my office. To her confusion, I used protection. First time in 2 decades. She seemed puzzled but didn't ask questions. No way I was going unprotected knowing she'd been with Ryan for months. The next morning, I checked the app and saw Claire had responded to Ryan for the first time in weeks. He wrote a novel professing his love, saying she was wasting time trying to rekindle a dead flame, that she'd been in a prison with me for 20 years, and that she deserved someone who would cherish her. Mind you, this guy is 26, barely older than our eldest daughter, and this obsessed with a 41-year-old married mother of 2. What an S. She destroyed our marriage for this pretty boy with a sensitive side. Laughable. His message was a masterclass in manipulation. "Ryan, I've given you space like you asked, but I can't stay silent anymore. Every day without you is torture. I see couples walking together and think of us. I hear songs that remind me of you and have to pull over because I can't drive through the tears. What we had wasn't just an affair. It was real, deeper than anything I've ever experienced. You're not a prisoner anymore, Claire. You're free to be with someone who sees your soul, who cherishes every part of you. He's had 20 years to appreciate you and failed. Don't waste another 20 trying to revive a dead flame. You deserve more. You deserve me." She told him the same thing as before. She loved him and enjoyed their time together but couldn't lose me. I was still the love of her life, though she'd always have a place for him in her heart. They could remain friends, but the physical relationship was over. He begged to see her one last time that week, and of course she agreed. One for the road, right? Who am I to judge after what I just did? I added this exchange to my growing archive. "Claire, Ryan, I can't deny what we had was special. You awakened parts of me I thought were dormant forever, but last night changed things. For the first time in months, I connected with my husband again. I think we might be turning a corner, Ryan. One night of sex and you think everything's fixed. Come on, Claire. You're smarter than that, Ryan. It wasn't just sex. It was different. He was present in a way he hasn't been for so long, Ryan. So what does this mean for us, Claire? I can't continue our physical relationship. I need to focus on my marriage, on my family. Ryan. After everything we've shared, everything we've said to each other, you're just going to throw it all away, Claire. I'm not throwing it away. I'll always have a place for you in my heart. We can still be friends, Ryan. Friends. I don't want to be your friend, Claire. I want to be the man you wake up next to every morning. I want to be the one who holds you at night. Claire, I'm sorry. I truly am. But he's my husband. Ryan. At least give me a chance to say goodbye properly. One last time. Just us. Please, Claire. I don't think that's a good idea. Ryan. Please, Claire. For closure. I need to see you one more time, Claire. Okay. Thursday after work, but just to talk, Ryan. Just to talk. Thank you. December 4th marked the beginning of Phase 3. Operation Ghost Protocol. Divorce papers in hand. New apartment ready. I needed to start moving my belongings out. But first I had to tell my daughters. I called my oldest home that Friday night with both girls in my office. I laid everything out, not specifics, but that their mother had been cheating for over a year and I was filing for divorce. My 12-year-old was devastated, especially since she'd recently experienced her first betrayal. Her first boyfriend had cheated on her just months earlier. Seeing her heartbroken again, realizing her own mother was capable of this hit her hard. I dreaded this conversation more than any other aspect of my plan. How do you tell your children their mother has betrayed not just you, but them? How do you shatter their image of their family without destroying their sense of security? I sat them down in my home office away from where Claire might overhear. Girls, I need to talk to you about something important, I began, my throat tight. They exchanged nervous glances, sensing the gravity in my tone. Your mom and I are going to be getting divorced, I said as gently as possible. My oldest, Allison, immediately asked, why? What transpired? Mia, my youngest, gazed at me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I inhaled deeply, the weight of my words heavy in the air. Your mother has been involved with someone else for nearly a year now. Is she being unfaithful to you? Allison asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. I nodded. Yes. Mia broke down immediately, sobbing into her hands. No, Mom wouldn't do that. I moved to comfort her, but she pulled away. You're lying. You're the one who's never home anymore. The accusation stung, but I understood her reaction. Mia, sweetheart, I know this is hard to hear. I wish it wasn't true. Do you have proof? Allison asked, always the practical one even through her shock. Yes, I replied. A lot of it. I didn't want to believe it either, but there's no doubt. Mia continued crying, but Allison's expression hardened. That's why you've been acting different. You knew? I nodded. I found out months ago. I've been trying to figure out how to handle it, how to protect you both. Does she know you know? Allison asked. Not yet, I answered. I'm filing for divorce next week. Mia looked up, panic in her eyes. What's going to happen to us? Where will we live? My oldest took it better and suggested taking her sister to live with her until things settled, which I agreed to. We packed some of her things and she asked if I'd be okay. I assured her, yes, sweetheart. We will find our way through this and I promise you, everything will be just fine. In the end, everything will find its way to a serene resolution. I promise. Then they left and the hardest part was over. Time to launch the nukes. As I watched them walk out the door, I felt a mixture of relief and profound sadness. The secret was out, at least to those who mattered most. My daughters knew the truth, and while their pain crushed me, I knew that honesty was the only way forward. Over the next weeks, Dave helped me gradually move my essential belongings while Claire and I were at work. These were things she wouldn't notice missing, unless specifically looking. I got a new phone and number, sharing it only with those who needed to know. Dave, Jack, Sarah, my daughter's sister, and mother. Meanwhile, I maintained the facade with Claire, who remained clueless. Dave and I worked efficiently, taking a few items each day: books from my office, clothes from the back of my closet, personal documents, family heirlooms that were mine before the marriage. We transferred them to my new apartment, creating the skeleton of my new life piece by piece. You really think she hasn't noticed anything missing? Dave inquired one day as we lifted a box of my cherished vinyl records into his truck. She hasn't mentioned a word, I responded. And she's been so consumed with the effort to salvage our marriage. I wonder if she even notices my collection of philosophy books lingering on the shelf. Acquiring the new phone was an essential move. I carefully moved all vital contacts, ensured essential apps were at my fingertips, and took the time to make certain my daughters had the number close at hand. When my old phone would vibrate with messages from Claire, I would reply just enough to preserve the facade of normalcy. I let a subtle stream of affection flow, just enough to keep her unaware, while she kept her emotional distance from that insufferable man. The haze of the affair lingered softly, a whisper of desire in the air. Throughout it all, I gathered every secret and whispered thought. Records of conversations, intimate messages, cherished images, heartfelt emails, and carefully crafted printouts. It seems I've indulged in a rather extravagant affair, pouring over $1,000 into the allure of office supplies. I meticulously arranged every detail in chronological order within 14 binders, capturing the essence of our secret rendezvous from the very start of our affair until mid-December. The binders were a creation born from a complex dance of passion and resentment. With every turn of the page, I felt the weight of my marriage slipping further away, each word a whispered farewell to what once was. Another revelation that the woman I had cherished for 2 decades had artfully deceived me. I meticulously organized them, assigning colors to each, crafting indexes, and penning summaries at the start of every section. It was an all-consuming passion, yet it offered a strange kind of healing. Every illuminated text, every carefully curated image, was a stride toward my emancipation. I carefully placed each binder into a box, adorned them with elegant wrapping, and inscribed the names of those special individuals who would receive them. My mother, her lineage, her 2 sisters, her brother, and the watchful eyes of her HR department. Have I mentioned that Ryan is employed at the same company, where a strict no-fraternization policy looms over us? A few of her companions, the rogue and his family. I sent them all on December 16th, with the promise of their arrival lingering between December 22nd and 24th. Divine timing. The packages were adorned with exquisite wrapping, elegant paper, delicate ribbons, and gift tags that whispered the essence of reality. Wishing you a joyous Christmas filled with warmth and enchantment. Within each envelope lay a carefully crafted note, detailing the clandestine romance that had unfolded over the past year, replete with timestamps, secret rendezvous, and intimate exchanges. For her company's HR department, I crafted a discreet section that subtly illuminated their breach of the company's relationship policy. On Christmas Eve, Claire returned home at her customary hour, the air thick with unspoken desires and the warmth of flickering lights. I can't help but wonder if she caught a glimpse of someone truly insufferable. I ceased my observations on the app by the 18th, having gathered everything I desired. As always, she indulged in the warmth of the shower, then surrendered to the allure of our shared moments together. We shared a moment of closeness on the living room sofa, the air thick with unspoken desires. I am fully aware of my flaws. And she slipped beneath the sheets, the moonlight casting a soft glow around her, as thoughts of forbidden desires danced in her mind. That evening unfolded like a dream, as if I were a spectator in a film, witnessing the intimate moments of another's existence. Claire radiated joy, blissfully ignorant that in less than 48 hours, her carefully constructed reality would unravel in the most unexpected of ways. She spoke softly of her dreams for Christmas dinner, the anticipation of calling her parents in the morning, and the carefully chosen gifts she had procured for the girls, each one wrapped in the warmth of her affection. "Where are they, by the way?" she inquired, her voice laced with curiosity as we tidied up the remnants of our intimate dinner. I assumed they would have returned by now, spending the night with Allison's boyfriend's family. I said, my voice steady and composed. "They shall return by tomorrow afternoon." She embraced this notion with a quiet certainty. "That's nice." They've been so welcoming to her. We watched a Christmas movie, her head on my shoulder. I felt nothing. No warmth, no affection, just a clinical detachment as I counted down the hours. The final phase had arrived. In the middle of the night, I wrapped the third remaining binder with the divorce papers taped inside the cover and placed it on my side of the bed with a note saying, "Merry Christmas." Next to it, I left my old phone and my lawyer's business card. I packed my remaining essentials, enough to fill 2 backpacks, and left the home we'd shared for 20 years for the last time. I took one final look around the house before leaving. 20 years of memories. Christmas mornings with excited children. Dinner parties with friends. Quiet evenings reading together. All of it is contaminated now by her betrayal. I didn't feel sad anymore, just empty. This house wasn't my home. It hadn't been for a long time. As I closed the door behind me, I sent one final text to my daughters. "It's done. I love you both more than anything. Call me when you can." That was 1 week ago. To Claire, I'm completely off-grid. Gone. Ghosted. She's blocked on Facebook, but I haven't blocked her yet to monitor the fallout, which has been glorious. My packages reached everyone. And Claire is getting destroyed. Her youngest sister publicly called her out. Both parents condemned her. My mother absolutely eviscerated her. I knew Mom had a mean streak, but the things she called Claire were unholy. The morning of Christmas Day, the texts and calls started flooding in. First from Claire, frantic and confused. "Where are you? What is this binder? These papers? Please call me. We need to talk about this. This is insane. You can't just leave like this. Answer your phone." Then from her family. Her sister posted publicly on Facebook. "To my sister, who betrayed her husband and children for a fling with a boy. You've disgraced our entire family. Don't bother calling for sympathy." Her mother left a voicemail on my new phone. "I don't know how she got the number. I always thought of you as a son. What Claire did is unforgivable. Please know that we love you and the girls, and we're here if you need anything." My own mother's response was biblical in its fury. She called Claire every name in the book, then blocked her on all platforms after delivering a final message. "You had a good man who worshipped the ground you walked on. You threw away 20 years for a child who probably can't even spell. Commitment. You deserve every ounce of pain coming your way." Claire has been frantically trying to locate me, posting desperately on Facebook, knowing I'm likely watching. But I won't say a word without my lawyer present. That'll be the next time we share oxygen. She has no way to spin this to make me the villain because I've exposed her to everyone who matters in her life. According to a mutual friend at their company, she and Ryan are being put on administrative leave tomorrow, so she'll likely enter 2021 unemployed. Her Facebook posts have grown increasingly desperate. "Please, if anyone has heard from my husband, tell him to call me. This is all a misunderstanding. Please come home so we can talk. I made mistakes, but this isn't fair to our children. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please give me a chance to explain." No one is sympathetic. Not her friends, not her family, not even casual acquaintances who've heard the story. The evidence was too comprehensive, too damning for her to deny or minimize. As for the final 2 binders, one went to my lawyer as evidence for the divorce, and the last one is in storage to be burned in Jack's fire pit when the divorce is finalized. Do I feel guilty? Not in the slightest. For 20 years I did right to this woman. I gave her the home, family, and life she wanted and loved her unconditionally. Never faltered, never strayed, never even considered breaking my vows. When issues arose, I communicated and worked through them with her. She chose another man's bed rather than telling me she was unhappy. She decided to step out with a younger guy who gave her butterflies. So, no, I have no sympathy for what I did or for her. She can burn in hell for all I care. I might lose the house, a car, and maybe some monthly alimony. But since the divorce is filed under adultery in a false state, that might be waived given my mountain of evidence. As far as I'm concerned, she's dead to me and I'm never looking back. I thought I'd feel empty after executing my plan. But surprisingly, I feel lighter. The rage that consumed me for months has subsided, replaced by a calm certainty that I did what needed to be done. I protected myself, exposed the truth, and refused to be a victim of her deception any longer. My daughters are struggling, particularly Mia. But we're working through it together. Allison has been incredibly supportive, stepping up to help her sister process everything. We're looking at family therapy options to help them navigate the fallout. As for me, I'm taking it one day at a time. My new apartment is slowly becoming more personal, more like a home. I've reconnected with old friends, started a new fitness routine, and even considered dating again, though that feels premature. Sarah has been a constant support, checking in daily and reminding me that there's life after betrayal. She suggested I join her hiking group when I'm ready. A gentle push toward rebuilding my social life. For now, though, I'm focused on healing and on being there for my daughters. The rest, the house, the divorce proceedings, and the financial settlements, will sort itself out in time. What I know for certain is this. I refuse to be broken by someone who couldn't honor our vows. I refuse to silently accept betrayal. And in standing up for myself, I found a strength I didn't know I possessed. The road ahead is uncertain, but for the first time in years, it's truly mine to.